And again, if you have a thought that you want answered right away, just go ahead and unmute yourself if you can, and jump right in. I have no problem. I would love it if it was interactive. Otherwise, you can hang on to it at the end of the session. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, we have to learn to be a source of light for others. Okay. And let me start off with this base verse of the Quran. It is one of the most beautiful verses that I have read. Those of you who follow my lectures, 2018, the first Ashra of Muharram in Toronto, I read 12 nights on this one verse, if you remember. And it was a lecture series called The Illumination of the Lights, or the Inner Light, or something like that, where I looked at the idea of the flashlight, I looked at the idea of being there. Why do people sit in darkness? You remember all of that. And I won't go down that path again, don't worry. But it is important that we do recognize that this verse is out there. Now, I'm just going to focus on the first half of the verse, okay? Allah says, look, and look what He says. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَوَمَنْ كَانَ مَيْتًا فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ. He says, look, you were dead. God says you were dead. You were spiritually dead. And tafsir and the commentary that is done on this verse tells us that He's talking about a spiritual death, not resurrection, not coming back from the dead. No, this is a spiritual death that sometimes you and I also experience. A lull, a drop, a little bit of a decrease, and sometimes to the point where it's to the point where things are very, very difficult, right? Where we challenge and this and that, right? He says that you were dead, and فَأَحْيَيْنَاهُ, we gave you hayat, we gave you life. Allah says. And not only did we give you life, He says, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا يَمْشِي بِهِ فِي النَّاسِ. Not only did we give you hayat, we gave you nur. We gave you life, we gave you light. Right? وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُ نُورًا. We put that nur, that light inside of your heart. But that light wasn't meant for you. Yamshi bihi finnas. You take that light and you illuminate it, and you walk amongst the people with that light. Okay, the example I gave in 2018 now, almost 3 years ago, it still stands. We go to a camping site, 4 or 5 nights we're there. You didn't bring a flashlight after Maghrib and Isha prayers. It's pitch black. You're walking towards the dining hall. You're walking towards the camp. Let's say, for example, where the campfire is. You can't see your hand in front of your face, and you didn't bring a flashlight. And now you're stuck, right? Because there's some big roots out there. You can slam yourself into a tree. You can trip over this and that. Until someone comes and says, look, don't worry, bro. I got you. This flashlight is enough to what? To illuminate your path and also light up my path as well. That's how powerful my light is. Not only am I able to see in front of me, but now I can also light up your path as well. Okay? Allah says, I've given you that as a believer. I've given you that. It's with you. Sometimes we think I'm in darkness. I have no idea what to do. How come God did? Even if that darkness was placed in your life because of Allah temporarily, He put a flashlight in the back pocket, right? The example I gave, again, 3 years ago was what? A guy's walking towards a campfire. It's pitch black outside. Okay, he trips, he stumbles, but he makes it to the campfire. Gets to the campfire, he's scarred up, he's bleeding. What happened, man? I couldn't see in front of me. It was pitch black, right? I mean, it was horrible. I was tripping over roots. I was bumping into trees. I was hitting rocks. Oh man, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. Until one guy looks in his back pocket. He sees what? He sees a flashlight. He's like, bro, how come you didn't just turn the flashlight on that you had? So I had no idea I had the flashlight to begin with, right? So there's this light that Allah gives, this hayat and this nur, this life and this light is not just meant for us. Yamshi bihi finnas. Okay, look at the English translation. It's right on the screen in front of you, right? Is he who was dead, then we raised him to life and made for him a light by which he walks among the people. Walks among the people. That light isn't meant just for you. right? I'm good, Molana. My wife and I are great. My husband and I are strong. My kids are great. This pandemic has been amazing for us, right? And it's been a very rich experience. Allah says what? To share that wealth. Share that wealth. If this pandemic you have been emotionally wealthy, where for the first time I've heard it, alhamdulillah, for the first time now, my wife and I, my spouse and I, are in a great spot. For the first time now, I was able to bond with my kids. We eat dinner together. We pray salat together. We play games together. Yeah, it's been hard not to socialize with our other cousins and blah, blah, blah. But the nuclear family, the 4 of us, the 5 of us, the 3 of us, the 2 of us, we've been strong, we've been good. Okay? The first point is this idea that Allah has given you this light, and the responsibility is to illuminate the path of everybody else, not just you. With limits. I keep saying that. My 3rd time now. I'm going to hold on to this for the next 4 weeks with limits. There are some people who give and give and give and give to the point where they destroy themselves, where they go into anxiety. So they rescue someone else from their anxiety, and then they riddle themselves in their anxiety and depression, right? So that's why boundaries are important. Knowing your limits are important. Giving what you can is important. Even Imam Mujtaba alayhi salam, when he would give to the poor, he would not empty his pockets. Half is for him and his family. The other half is for the needy. Same idea. Somebody requires your energy, your time, your advice, your money, whatever the case may be. Give, absolutely give. But give enough where you come out of that experience sound and healthy and mentally strong. Don't give to the point where now you need to be given to. Let's be very careful. That's a balance we'll talk about in a moment. In a few weeks. We talk about toxic people, trying to help toxic people in your life. Okay, we got a lot of discussions, guys, across 4 nights, inshallah, in 4 weeks. Inshallah, you guys will be with me. So it's important that sometimes, and what I mean by that light is not, you don't always need to swoop in and save the day, right? There are people, mashallah, who have advice for everybody, man. I tell you, like sometimes unsolicited. I never asked you for your advice. You come and you should do this and do that and do this. Like, thank you. I don't remember asking you for advice. And sometimes those people who are riddled in depression, drowning in anxiety, having mental health issues, this pandemic has been horrendous for them. The last thing they need is someone to come in and pretend like they have all the answers, right? Sometimes, just sitting in the darkness with them is enough. It's enough. Sometimes I get phone calls, people who are having a rough moment, a rough stretch of things, a rough week, blah, blah, blah. Just wanting to bounce some ideas off of me. I'm not a counselor. I'm not some professional who can deal with anxiety, mental health issues. No, but what I can do is offer my ears, both of them. And the process never fails. They'll call me, and I'll purposely not say a word. I'll let you talk. I'm not here to cut you off. I'm not here to pretend like I know what you're going through, or pretend like I know what your issue is. So I listen, and they talk, and they talk, and they talk, and they talk. Half an hour, 35 minutes of them talking. You can literally hear them talk themselves out of their own issues. And all I'm doing is, yes, okay, I'm here, okay, I see, that's it. And 40 minutes later, I haven't said a word, and they're thanking me. Molana, I feel so much better. Thank you so much. I go, I didn't say a word. I didn't say a word. Sometimes all they need is companionship in the darkness. That's it. They don't need someone to come in and say, you know what, I know exactly what you should. No, especially if they didn't ask for it. Unsolicited advice, we have mastered that process. Oh my goodness, everybody and anybody has advice for me. How long my beard should be, how I should cut my hair, how I should raise my kids, what color I should wear, how many samosas I should have, everything. Baba, I didn't ask you. Thank you very much for your advice. I appreciate it's coming from a place of love, no doubt. But when I do ask you, you can give it to me. Otherwise, just stay with me. Sit with me. Share the darkness with me. That goes a long way as well. You know someone who's suffering. You know someone whose marriage is on the rocks. You know someone who really is having a tough time raising their kid. You don't need the play-by-play analysis of what happened, how it happened, who was involved, what time, where were you. No. Just say, look, Salam, I know there's a lot going on. Just sending you my love, my du'as. If they ghost you, they don't respond to you, you've done your part. That's it, right? Don't need to keep going 4 times, 5 times, 8 times, 9 times. No, you've done your part. You've made it a point that, look, I'm opening the door a little bit for you. When you're ready, if you're ready, whenever you want to walk into that door, I'll be waiting for you on the other side. That's it. That's it, right? We have this, especially in our Indo-Pak community, we have the shame culture that is going to kill us if it hasn't already. The shame culture is, I'd rather put on a brave face like everything is great than ask for help. I don't want anyone to ever think that I've lost control of my family, or I have a disrespectful kid at home, or I can't keep my marriage going, or I don't know, this and that. Nothing. So I'd rather put on like, oh yeah, we're great, take selfies and vacation pics and, happy birthday to my amazing wife, my loving wife, my har kuch, my har cheese, my sab kuch. And those are the couples that I really beg Allah to really help. I'm dead serious, man. I'm dead serious. And those are the ones that really, and so we'd rather put on that front and damage the family than actually reach out. Yeah, there's trust factors, there's trust issues. If I share what's happening inside my home to one person, I don't have the confidence in my own people that it won't get to 10 different homes. That's different. I'm not talking about that. Shame culture is what that I'd rather pretend like my house is not on fire than actually, deal with the shame of saying my house is on fire. There are some people who are sitting inside their homes in their living rooms. Can you imagine now walking into a home, guys? Imagine now for a moment, walking into a home now, and you walk into a living room and the husband's on the couch reading the paper. The wife is, let's say, on the couch reading a book. The kids are on their devices in the living room. All 5 of them are sitting there in their own world. You look around and the kitchen is on fire. The kitchen is ablaze. And you're like, do you not realize that your kitchen is on fire right now? Why don't you put everything down and do what you can to put the fire out? So we can turn a blind eye, all to kind of save face in our communities and our families, right? But that's not the approach that we want. It's not the approach that we want. We have to remove that. So if any of you right now, listening to me, are going through your family issues and you guys are not able to handle it, ask for help. Provided that the person on the other side is there to, of course, not judge and not swoop and say, oh, I have the solution. No, wait a second. Again, we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. Okay? And, it all comes from the idea. And you might think, oh, this is a simple discussion, Molana. Obviously, there's no obvious anymore. I'm sorry. We have multiple idols that we are worshiping. And one of the idols is ourself. We live in an individualistic society. We live in a consumer-based society. And we are the brand, and we are the starring actor, and we are the CEO, and we are the marketing agent, and we are everything. So we're branding ourselves. And in this era where, you have to sell yourself, and you have to make sure that, you plaster yourself everywhere, and all about glamorization, it's very difficult now to break the idol of the self and think about somebody else. The toughest battle that we have in this world as believers, and I know I'm making a very big statement by saying this, is true sincerity, doing something truly for others, which ultimately is doing something for Allah without having an ounce of self-interest in it. It is almost impossible to not stop and think, if I help this person, what will I gain out of it? Will I be recognized? When I do help that person and they never truly thank me the way I wanted to be thanked, and now I'm furious, they're better, but here I am, fuming mad because I didn't get the proper thank you. Is that truly sincere, right? Is that not, in the individualistic category? It is actually, right? And we have to be very, very, very careful. Okay. Now, we know enough to know that the discussion on the qalb, the discussion on the heart, is one that is quite extensive in Islam. And I won't go into it, not entirely, of course, but I do need to touch on it. The fact that the Ahlul Bayt now have broken up the hearts into categories. And obviously, I don't mean this organ inside of our chest that's right now pumping blood for our body. What I mean by the heart is our essence, is our spirituality, is our ruhaniyat. All of that, of course, resides inside of our qalb. The qalb itself is a fluctuating entity inside of our heart. The word qalaba in Arabic literally means to fluctuate. Okay, which means that we go through various stages and various forms and functions of the heart almost on a daily basis. Okay, let's examine this hadith by Imam Jafri-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Imam Khomeini rahmatullah alayhi in his 40 hadith book has a very beautiful hadith, number 30, I believe, that talks about the classifications of the heart. Okay, and he brings about this hadith and then expands on this hadith. If you have a moment to go through that, I would. It's online, very well translated, 40 hadiths by Imam Khomeini. You should come across an al-islam.org link. On there, it's a very well translated 40 hadith book. Number 30, if I believe, is called The Classifications of the Heart. In there, you'll find this. Imam Salih says, Inna al-quluba arba'a. There are 4 hearts. 4 different types of hearts. Qalbu fihi nifaq wa iman, number 1. A heart that has both hypocrisy and faith inside of it. Wa qalbu mankus. I'll explain what that means in a moment. Wa qalbu matbu' wa qalbu azhar. Okay. The second type of heart is mankus. Mankus is something that has become inverted. Okay. Where the form of the heart and the function of the heart is lost. When you invert something, depending on how it's supposed to be, in fact, you invert anything. That's a tool, it will lose its function and form. I'll give you a very simple example. Your kids are having dinner. They say, Baba, can I have some orange juice? Sure, you can. You give them their plastic cups, right? You're about to pour the juice in their glass, and they do what? They invert their glass. They turn it upside down. So the bottom is now the top, and the top is the bottom. Would you pour the orange juice? No, you wouldn't. Because not only has the look of the glass now changed, but now it can no longer, in this right now, this current state, can no longer hold orange juice. The function has changed, the form has changed. Okay? There are those hearts out there that are inverted. I mean, the way that a heart should be is not there. Right? That's one heart. وَقَلْبُ مَطْبُوعٌ. The opposite of matbu is maftuh in Arabic. Maftuh in Arabic means to open. Right? Matbu means sealed. A sealed heart, nothing going in, nothing coming out. Whatever is in there is in there. Okay? You have to allow the outside purity to walk into your heart to cleanse. You have to allow the dirt from the inside to leave in order for you to cleanse. But no, when the heart is sealed, it's sealed. And the final one is al-qalbu azhar. A heart that is illuminated. A heart that is clear. Okay? He goes on to explain in the hadith that the qalbu mankus mushrik, the qalbu matbu is that of a munafiq, of a hypocrite, and of course the qalbu azhar is that of a believer and a mu'min. But look at the way that Imam Sadiq now is describing this heart of a believer. It is an azhar, or the female of azhar is zihra, right? Which means that it was meant now to illuminate not just you and your darkness, it was also meant to illuminate the darkness of others. So every so often, guys, do me a favor, every second or third day, once a week, just scroll through your go from Z all the way up to A, stop and think, oh, you know what? I haven't talked to this guy in a while. Just send him an emoji, just a salam, just something, right? Something personal. Don't send him like one of those memes, right? Just salam. How's it going? Everything okay? Thinking about you. 4, 5, 8 words goes a long, long way, right? Without you asking a question, just simply checking in. That's it, right? Some may not respond. Some may say, okay, do you need something? No, just checking in. That's it. And again, I'll get to that in a few weeks, because a lot of people now, they want to do that and they literally talk themselves out of it. Yeah, but what if I'm not that close to that person? What if it's weird? What if they think, who's this guy? Why is he messaging me? What do you want? This and that. It's better I don't do it. So good intention enters your mind. Shaitan right away follows it, messes it all up, and before you know it, that intention is gone. And then you always get that person that reaches out to you, says, you know what, I was kind of hoping you'd reach out to me. And I'm like, oh man, I was going to, wallah. And 1,000 wallahs later, they're like, yeah, sure, you're going to, right? It happens all the time. Okay. The fluctuating reality of the hearts. The reason why, and again, Imam Khomeini goes into this discussion. Why do the Ahlul Bayt now categorize it as 4 different hearts? As you know, again in the Quran, Allah says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. That on the day of judgment, where nothing will benefit you, not your property nor your children. What will benefit anybody is when you go to Allah, when you present yourself in front of Allah with a secure heart, with a qalb salim. Okay. And he says the reason why these 4 are mentioned, or the reason why there's even a category to begin with, is because this is the reality of the human being. And sometimes, to a certain extent, all of us experience all 4 of these hearts. Sometimes we go from hypocrisy to faith. And obviously, even within hypocrisy, there's levels. And sometimes we even go to the idea where, we invert the heart and we're like, you know what, right now, I'm not feeling God. I don't want to worship him. I don't feel a need to worship him. It's been a rough week. I'm low a little bit spiritually, right? And then you get to that qalb azhar, where now all of a sudden your heart is illuminated. And now what was very dark and very, 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 very drab and very cold now becomes warm and light and beautiful. And just an amazing sight to see. So it's important that we end up understanding that these hearts are there for a reason. They're there for a reason. I told the story before, I think, during my Fatimiyya speeches, that I received a phone call 2 weeks ago. And sometimes when I receive a phone call, I think, okay, this person is asking, some sort of question in terms of fiqh, or, maybe some advice, or maybe, I don't know, whatever the case may be. And, it was a brother who was regular in our center, called me and, said salam and how are you and everything. And right away he said, look, I don't have a question for you. I'm not asking you for advice on anything. I don't have, I just calling you on behalf of the entire family to say we miss you dearly. We miss your smiling face. We miss your jolly personality. The kids are missing your Thursday night classes, blah, blah, blah. And, this is a very strange time that we're in. And I just want to let you know that we were thinking about you. Yeah, we see you live every Thursday on the YouTube channel, but it's not the same. I said, hey, I said, yeah. And it was literally a 3-minute conversation. And like I said before, for a week now, I was on a high. It's nice to be remembered. It's nice to be remembered. Right? It feels horrible to be invisible. And right now, as much as we, a lot of us are loving the fact that we have our kids and our spouses and sometimes our parents right beside us all day long, we are invisible to everybody else. Right? It was so weird in the beginning of the pandemic. I would go see my mom, and we would sit on the driveway, 6 feet apart, on a lawn chair, because my mom was, quite careful about COVID. And it was just so strange. I couldn't walk into my mom's house, right? And we missed that, right? The first Eid after the month of Ramadan last year was a COVID Eid. It was very strange, right? Usually in the daytime, right? Just as a honor to my marhum father, my entire family comes to my house at for lunch, and then we go over to my aunt's house for dinner. And both of them now are marhum, right? But that day it was all from the driveway, 6 feet apart. We would rave. We would put our kids' Eid gifts on the table and kind of walk away and drive. And it was just a very strange time. Of course, there's a lesson here to be learned. All that kind of stuff. That's fine. But we really need to revive the idea of being selfless and thinking about others and trying to get to that qalbu azhar stage where we just, we're able to really truly get that going, right? Um, and and then we would actually build on that so that we are maintaining those strong community ties even though we're not there physically together. Okay, so guys, moving forward now, the next three Wednesdays, 7 p.m. sharp Eastern, we'll look at a lot of issues. Number one is how to be a good listener in the Islamic sense. We'll look at discussions like, stories from the Ahlul Bayt's time, how they would give others and the importance they would give in helping others. Incredible stories that I think will blow your mind away. That will happen next Wednesday. We'll look at, of course, mental health and empathy. Is there a fine line? Is there a line there? Sometimes we don't understand that, me helping myself out and my own anxiety and my own stress actually is very much connected to me helping somebody else out. We'll discuss that through the Islamic context. And finally, dealing with toxic people inside of our life. Ensuring that, I have to make sure that, especially family, right? As sometimes as big as your family is, you don't get along with everybody in your family. But then, Molana, what about this idea of silat rahim and maintain ties and it adding to your life? And to what extent is that? What extent do you want me to be selfless when this person just tramples all over me, right? And I don't have, I've lost my self-respect. Is there a fine line between being humble and having humility and being zalil and being a doormat and being stepped all over, right? Outside is one thing. How about within our blood relations, within our family? Is there a limit? Inshallah, we'll discuss all that in the next couple of weeks. And then, inshallah, from there we'll go. So that's our discussion for tonight. It was 45 minutes on the dot. And any questions or discussions or comments, then please, Bismillah, I'm all ears. I think there's a question in the chat here. Let me just go ahead and handle that. What did I do here? Right. So there's a private message that I have to get to. Brother Ali Jamal, nice to see you, my brother, in this class. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate the fact that you're with us. Brother Ali Jamal is my revert brother from Carolina, and I appreciate that.
Why'd you finish the strawberry shortcake?
One thing that I do want to I do want to touch upon again. I think I've mentioned this already, but I do want to do it time and time again, and that is that, the one group that I am sometimes really worried about are our elders. In your family, of course, your uncles, your aunts, this and that. We, and I'm saying this only because it's a story. We made the rounds one day, my wife and I, all of us, all of our kids, to my family. I have a rather big khandan, a big family here in Toronto. So we thought, let's just grab some sweets or something, or cook something, just kind of like as an excuse, right? At the doorstep, 6 feet apart, and the look on their faces when they saw us after 8-9 months, they would just, they were just so sad that we couldn't come inside their home. And we're quite serious here in Toronto about this COVID thing, right? I mean, we're 6 feet apart, wearing masks, blah blah blah, this and that. But just the look on their face, and they all look so weak to me. They all look like they were just like, they've lost this will to like get up in the morning, right? And I find a phone call goes a very, very long way. Not just family, elders that you have a connection with in the community, distant relatives, your own uncles, your own aunts in a different city, different, how are you? Everything okay? Thinking about you. It goes a long, long way. Right? Making sure that your kids, of course, keep up with them in terms of, having a family Zoom session, right? You just kind of open up your cameras and say, just go crazy. Everybody unmute. Let's make it to one big loud Jafri family party, right? Let the kids now, talk, and sometimes, let your kids talk to, your first cousin's kids, making sure that connection is still there. Okay, that's also very, very important. But I've already mentioned that several times. Sister Fatima says, instead of being inverted, is the heart more like reversed, meaning it was favoring Allah and then turns away? Yes. So one is, I find reversing it and inverting it are somewhat similar, meaning the form and the original form and the original function, Sister Fatima, has changed. So you can say it's been reversed. Reversed means it goes, it's going backwards. Inverting means that the entire thing now has changed. The look of it has actually changed, right? And that's what I mean. I mean that, what was meant to be a heart that was made for Allah, now from sin, from ignorance, from arrogance, from whatever you want to call it, now has, changed its form altogether. Hope that makes sense. It's a very good point you make, by the way. Thank you very much for that. Brother iPhone is saying that thank you, Sayyid Asad, for an enlightening lecture. It's a great reminder of the need and awareness of connecting with others. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. So, one point that someone is mentioning here on a private is that, not emptying your pockets out. I mentioned that about Imam Mujtaba alayhi salam, that, he would give away half his wealth 3 times in his life to the poor, keeping the other half for his family. Does this not go against what Sayyidah Fatima, and I'll read it. I mean, it's a private message, so I won't tell you who it is. Doesn't this contradict what Lady Fatima used to do? I get your point that our first responsibility is our family, but then how can we justify, for example, what Lady Fatima and Imam Ali did when giving all their food to the poor after a day of fasting? And that's one example. Like giving all of your food for 3 nights in a row is one thing. Giving away everything you own, is another thing. So I'm talking about everything that you own. Imam Mujtaba will give away. I'm not talking about, what's in like the bread he has. No, he would give away half of his ownings away. And not this idea that, that because Islam says that, no one's asking you to feed everybody else. Meanwhile, your kids are hungry. That dhulm and oppression on them also is not allowed. So even the Ahlul Bayt never gave everything away. So the Fatima, maybe if that one night gave her iftar away. But Allah, of course, sending a message that, I will arrange for that to happen, for you to be given that food. I'm talking about giving everything you have away. So in the case that I was giving, the example I was giving was giving all of your energy away, all of your mental health away, everything away, your patience, everything that was meant a little bit for you, you give to this person. Meanwhile, when you're done, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're anxious, you're depleted, but there's no one there to ask you, what, are you okay? Are you doing okay? Are you handling okay? Right? Those things are very, very important. Uzair Bhai, nice to hear from you, mashallah. Nice to see you there as well. Does a true moment's heart also fluctuate? Yes, it does. It fluctuates. Imam Salih says that, you have what's called faraz and nashib, as you say in Urdu, hills, peaks and valleys, right? It does not dip beyond the fara'id and the wajibat, but there are moments where we want to do more. Our qalb goes through various levels where we want to worship Allah more, and then there are moments where we just want to do our obligation. That's why Imam Ali says that if your mustahab acts interfere with your wajib, drop the mustahab, because there'll come a moment where your heart wants more. At that moment, give it whatever you want. But sometimes, we make a mustahab act so difficult on us that hub that it should come from, that love that that should come from, is gone. I had a and brother Ali Jamal, I see your hand. I'm coming to you in 1 second. There was a sister who called me and said, Molana, I have a very, I've had this habit since I was young that before I go to sleep, Surah Mulk, Surah Rahman, Surah Yasin, I recite these 3 surahs. Okay, that's beautiful. But there are some moments where I'm tired, Molana. After Surah Rahman, I'm sitting there and I'm falling asleep, and sometimes I catch myself just, and I have to get up and do again and come back. Do I have to finish those 3? No, you don't, sister. You don't. If you find yourself checking to see how many more pages in the surah, close the book, Baba, put it aside, go to sleep. Listen to your body. There'll come a moment where after those 3, you want to read 3 more. Then at that moment, give yourself more. So yes, Uzair, there's absolutely is, absolutely is this idea of the fluctuation. Yes. So before I get to those private messages, Brother Ali Jamal, you want to go and unmute?
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Alaikum salam, my man. How are you doing?
How are you? I'm good,
Alhamdulillah,
alhamdulillah. Yeah.
I'm happy you made it.
Yeah, I'm happy I'm here. It's a blessing, brother. I always tell you that, and it's the truth. I just wanted to thank you for this topic that you're giving these classes on, and for all of your classes and lectures. And most importantly, thank you for being my companion in the darkness, brother. That's all I have to say. I love you, brother, with
I
all of
love
my
you too,
heart.
my man. May Allah bless you, inshallah. Remember, Allah is always with you. I appreciate that. Brother Ali Jamal and I have been on a journey for the past, I think, 3-4 years now, I think. And alhamdulillah, he's been struggling, and he's been trying, and he's been getting places, and I know he feels the presence of God in his life. So thank you, Brother Jamal. I appreciate those words. May Allah bless
Thank
you,
you,
man. I
brother.
really appreciate that. Thank you.
May Allah bless you, brother, and your
Thank you,
family with the
Asad.
most beautiful of blessings.
Thank you. You as well, my brother. Thank you very much. There's a message here privately that I want to get to, inshallah, and then we'll wrap up in a couple minutes. Assalamu alaikum salam. In previous speech a few years back about how you have a support group for mothers. As a new mother, I wanted to know how do we get about creating a support group without being judged, my fellow members in the community that would be members of the group. So what actually there was a group of mothers who approached me 4 or 5 years ago, and they wanted to create like a mom and tots group. And I think it's a beautiful idea, by the way. Of course, this was all pre-pandemic. Things are hard now, and they wanted some guidance, they wanted some direction, they wanted a little bit of can we use the building and blah blah blah. So we were able to arrange all that for them. I think it was Friday morning just before Jummah Salat. They would come together with other moms who have younger kids who are, and these young moms are not getting out. And part of the reason was because all of our evening programs start when their kids fall asleep. So they were just one of the biggest deprived groups that we had inside of our community, and they continue to still be deprived. And so, I thought it was a great idea, that it was their initiative. I don't think anybody will judge you, sister. I really don't. I think that if you reached out to a couple of young moms, look, this is the idea that we had. If I can get Zainabia open, for example, if you are from Detroit, Zainabia open for, let's say, an hour or 2 hours Friday morning or Thursday morning, we can kind of bring, a few snacks, and maybe one person can lead, like, nursery rhymes or craft section, or I don't know, coloring time, or whatever the case may be. Just an excuse to come together, right? And I found that it was very, very therapeutic, and we had some amazing programs. Sometimes they would call me, I would address the kids, but then this pandemic hit and things have been quiet now for the past, I think, almost a year. But I think if you start small, 3 moms, 4 moms who are in the same age, either gather at homes or gather in the center. When all this pandemic is over, you'll find it'll start to grow. And hopefully, Zainabia and the community will support you in that endeavor. I really hope. Yeah. So they have, I'm told you that they have in the Detroit area, they have local Facebook mommy groups. Michigan Muslim Mommy Group, for example. There are many Facebook groups, like Sister Sheila's mentioning there in the chat. Sister Fatima mentioned about Holly Institute. So there are, I think, a matter if you just kind of ask those who've been here in Detroit for a while, you'll find that those things are already established. And I'm sure they're always looking for new blood, new ideas, fresh energy. So I don't think anybody would actually turn you away on that. Okay. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, guys. I appreciate that. Anybody else? Questions? It's open floor. We have about 4 minutes left. Thank you for all the wonderful comments privately, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the encouragement and all that. Inshallah, looking forward to 3 more weeks of this. We have a couple of very crucial discussions next 3 weeks. I cannot mention that enough. So please, spread the word. Let people know. Everyday things that we might think are kind of common sense, they're not so common, right? I mean, it's not happening almost on a on a community level, inshallah. If there's nothing else, then then we'll go from there. Yeah, so sorry, Qasim, 1 second. I'm sorry. Yeah, so there is one, there is one question here from Sister. Sorry, it's private, but I will get to that in a couple of weeks. The question was about balancing, right? And talked about the fact that you sometimes you're helping everybody outside your home in their darkness, right? You have this need. It's a beautiful need to go out there and swoop in and save the day. And oh my God, someone's in need. I have to go running. It's great, but sometimes the very people in your own house need you the most, right? And while you're out there saving the world, your own home is on fire. So we have to really kind of make sure that that we're not individuals that are imbalanced in that. I see it too many times. You give your whole life to the community, and the community is thriving, the community is strong, the community, mashallah, is advancing, but your home, your children, your spouse, all of them always complain that, they're not around for us, right? Got to make sure we don't do that, right? Okay. So Qasim, I'll let you wrap up. Thank you very much. We can't hear you, Qasim. Sorry. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Sorry. No, we can't hear you. It's okay. I'll wrap up. We ask you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, to accept our qalil efforts, inshallah, on these Wednesday discussions. And we do ask Allah to please give us that inspiration to apply what we learned. Reach out to others, especially your elders, especially your family members. Make it a phone call, a chat here and there, inshallah. And please, spread the word about these sessions every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern sharp, at the Zoom ID. And of course, it'll be uploaded on the YouTube channel as well, inshallah. Okay, we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, Molana. Thank you so much, inshallah. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Mohammed Akbar. Thanks for the cameo appearance at the end, my brother. I appreciate that.
I'm the closer.
I appreciate the closing. Yes, thank you. All right, guys. Khalafis, thank you. Khalafis, thank you.